Hey, what's going on, ladies and gentlemen? NoZoupForYou here, and yes, I am playing a submarine. The I-56, Japanese submarine, as a matter of fact. And I just happened to get this ship. You know how they give those random containers? Well, the very first one, surprisingly enough, you know, this never ever happens. The very first one I got was this. 1,000 doubloons, so I'm like, you know what, why not? Why not go ahead and purchase it? And now I have it. And so after that, I thought, well, you know, maybe I should really try to play it. Maybe I should really try to learn submarines, because they're going to be here for a while. Submarines are not going away, and though I hate what they're bringing to the game, I hate the general concept of them overall, I'm like, you know, how can I talk about submarines if I don't play them a lot, and if I don't, you know, learn about them? So that's what I attempted to do, and I've learned a lot in just playing the I-56 alone. I'll give a full review of the submarine a little in the future, but this one's a lot different than the German and the other ships, the other subs that we've had. This is a really good torpedo spam boat. Lightning fast reload on those torpedoes, 30 some odd seconds, 6 at a time, so you can basically just flood an area with torpedoes. This submarine, you know, just kind of start in the back in the beginning, sling your torps, and slowly move up. And you'll see me do that throughout this game. And I mean, this wasn't a first place game. I'm still learning submarines. But I just kind of want to talk about submarines in general. For those of you that want to play them, for those of you that are going to be playing against them, because there are little idiosyncrasies with them. There's little things about them that you need to know, both to fight against them and to play them. And, you know, some things are just the stereotypes we already know. A lot of players still hate them. You'll see that at the end of this round. Someone got very, very, very butthurt. But they're not OP. They're not. And for those of you trying to play them that have never played them before, you might get your ass kicked at first. I mean, they are not the easiest ships in the world to play. I would kind of liken them almost to the original CVs, just in the fact that I think in the future you're going to find that some players are really, really, really good at submarines and they can affect the battle, and then some players are just not that good. And when you have a disparity between those two players, you're going to see it. Maybe not how the old CVs were, because they cost so much damage, but you're going to be able to tell very quickly when your team has a good CV player and when your team does not have a good CV player. So there's a lot to learn with them, and again, each different nation's submarines handle differently, and you're going to have to learn that as well. For instance, what I'm learning with the I-56, it does not have nearly the amount of dive time as the other nations. On top of that, you do have two different torpedo types, you know, the homing and then the dumbfire, which are vastly different. The homing are 6 kilometers, so you got to get right up on a ship in order to use them. Whereas, like I pointed out earlier, the 12 kilometers are pretty much torpedo spam. I mean, both of them reload very, very quickly, but they're basically fire and forget and just flood an entire area with as many torps as possible, and you'll likely wind hits. So I find that the I-56, at least, might be easy for beginners, but of course, if you're in a round with two CVs like this one, it can get a little challenging. But where these CVs messed up, where they didn't go after me, I don't know what they were going after, to be honest. I mean, we've already got a commanding lead on them. If you're fighting against submarines, again, destroyers, I wouldn't go after them actively. I just wouldn't, because you're only going to be able to hit them if you're right on top of them. The best ship for taking out submarines is, and always will be at this point, battleships, because of those ASW airplanes, some which have an insane range. They're hard to escape. Now, there's some weird things about that I don't agree with. For instance, these planes can hit you when you're on the surface, which for a time drop that's supposed to explode under the water, I find that to be odd. But you know, we'll just chalk that up to artistic license of the game and the necessity of at least being able to counter submarines. If you weren't able to do that, it would be a little unfair. And again, speaking about unfair, I really do think in the hands of a good player, these ships are going to be murder. Because if you're in a battleship, you've got to burn or repair in order to break that lock if a submarine is right up your butt, which can happen towards the end of the game. So, that's the strategy you want to play with submarines. You're playing the long game. You're not really playing the short game. You're not playing it like a destroyer. You're not going into cap. You're thinking in-game. And it's kind of like destroyers in a way. The longer that you stay in the battle, the more likely you are to affect the battle with these submarines. So you don't want to get up in there right away in the fight. A lot of your damage is going to come to the very end. When the battleships are still around, when the destroyers have been whittled away and you don't have to worry about them and everything's focusing on other things. That is when you're going to cause your havoc, from what I've learned. And that's exactly what I'm doing right now. I've slowly moved up. We forged a channel through sea, and I've got a lot of targets out here that I'm just going to start going after. And, like I said, this wasn't my best submarine game by any stretch of imagination. It's just an example of how to play it and what you can do. And the various different torps, which I'm highlighting. These dumbfires right here, which he was straight line sailing. Perfect for these. You got 2 CVs in the back, which, I wasn't actively hunting them. I knew they'd be in the back, though. And if you play a submarine right, you're going to wind up in the back towards the end of the game, which, we're kind of in the last portions of the game right now. And this is where you're able to take care of them. I've got this Alabama right here. He's very close. In theory, he's the one that should be going after me with his planes. But of course, we've got a commanding lead right now, so he's got his mind on other things. So I'm just going to start spamming torps again in the general direction he's going at both him. And the CV's a little out of range right now. I can run on the surface right now as fast as I want because nothing's really coming after me, which, again, submarines have ridiculous speed on the surface, in my opinion. I think they're way too fast. I would probably knock them down a couple kilometers per hour or knots per hour. We're talking Navy here. But there's a lot of stuff in the air. In theory, I should be spotted, or they should be trying to spot me to take me out. I mean, they know I'm here. And I am probably their biggest threat being back here, along with this other DD that's with me, who we've been fighting together since the beginning. But, yeah, submarines, man, they're here to stay. But they are going to represent a paradigm shift for the game, especially when you get these rounds with 2 of them in there. When you get rounds that have double CVs, double submarines, but maybe that's going to keep both of them occupied. Maybe the aircraft carriers are going to be occupied taking care of the subs. I don't know. It's a very strange dynamic right now, and I'm still firing these dumbfire torps. I'm actually aiming for this Shakalov right here, which you want to talk about OP ships. I'm not a fan of Russian CVs. Again, that Russian bias. And I'm sure the submarines are going to have it when they introduce Russian submarines to the game. They're going to have something that sets them apart. Just that little thing. Well, maybe not anymore with everything going on. I mean, maybe the days of Russian bias are finally behind us, since we know that there really is no such thing in the real world. But anyhow, yeah, you're going to see me switch to these 6-kilometer torps here, and you're about to see just how unfair those are with homing and everything else. And this Alabama got really, really salty after I sank him, which, I argued with him. I would have done the same thing even if I was in a destroyer. I mean, I would have nailed him either way. I could very much be a destroyer right now, going the same speed, with the same detectability, with the same torps, everything else. So, you can get mad about it, but there's no point, really. I mean, it's not like I was hiding back here. I'm only hiding right now that I'm within that 6-kilometer homing torp area, which you can fire from below, which is what I'm going to do right here. And that's when you want to use these. Not when there's a lot of ships around that can spot you and sling things at you, but when you've got this one-on-one right here, like I have, this one-on-one versus the Alabama, this is when you want to use your homing torpedoes. He is definitely within my range. I'm launching them all. I'm going to ping him. My torps are going to be back up in 30 seconds again. And this is going to force him to use his repair, which kind of sucks for him. And you can see he got rid of it right there, and I cannot ping him again. But it's caused him to burn one of his repairs, so even if I only got one torp hit against him a little later, well, I got one right there, if I flooded him, he'd be screwed. But my torps, you can see how insane the reload is. They're up again right now. I mean, that was no time at all. So I'm going to ping him, give him a preliminary ping, since he's so close. Then I'm going to fire these bad boys. And, you know, he's looking at me right now, but there is nothing he can do. There's a double ping right there. I mean, look at all those torps. He's screwed. He cannot escape that. And he is gone. And now you're going to see the rage and all the salt and everything else come forth. Which, you know, I can understand why he's mad, but again, I could have been a destroyer with limited detectability, and there you go. There's the there comes forth the salt right there, and there's going to be a lot of salt. And I think submarine players are going to get a ton of hate for playing submarines, especially no family. Yeah. Especially the ones that are really, really good. Their teammates are going to love them, but I think the enemies are going to hate them, and you're going to see a lot more of this, and it's just going to add to the vitriol in the game and just the level of hatred. It's going to divide the community. It's not going to build a community, but there's no coward. And I can tell you right now, it's hard to play these. So, coward, you might be called, but you're anything but. And we'll talk more about these since they are the big thing now and seem to be what everybody else is talking about moving forward. So anyhow, everyone, take it easy. Hope you all are doing wonderful. Zoop out.